Hello there, my name is Hideout and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're in Dungeons and Dragons world, or the Forgotten Realm I believe it's called, and we're having a look at a big fat bald man. It's Varis. Oh no, we're not in Game of Thrones, sorry. It's the Silverymoon Ranger. Why is it silvery? Who really knows? Maybe it was dipped in it. 3 mana for a 3/3 with Reach and Ward 1. Ward 1 means if a spell would be targeting, or an ability would be targeting Varis, counter it unless they pay 1. That's for your opponents anyway. And whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture into the dungeon. This ability triggers only once each turn, which is a terrible downside, I have to say. But there's ways we can get around it, don't you worry. Whenever you complete a dungeon, create a 2/2 wolf creature token. Not very exciting as a, sort of incentive to complete dungeons, but getting that dungeon sort of progression every single time you cast a creature is pretty cool, and I quite like it. Interesting card. I'm excited to see what we can do with it. If you like these sort of videos, please do consider subscribing. I'm going to make one for every legendary creature ever printed, and dear God, I'm going to be doing it for the rest of my natural life. Without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5 for Varis. In at number 5, we've got Ellie Wick Tumble Strum. Incredibly awesome name. Ellie Wick Tumble Strum. 4 mana for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. This is cool because, yes, our commander triggers off casting Planeswalkers, so this gets a trigger, but then +1 venture into the dungeon. So you can just plow through the dungeon each turn with our Tumble Strum. -2, you can look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from them and put it into your hand. If it's legendary, you gain 3 life. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Again, we want to be casting creatures and planeswalkers, so the fact that this planeswalker digs for creatures works excellently with the deck. And then finally, -7, you get an emblem with creature control, have trample and haste, and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed. So again, another way of sort of getting that dungeon theme into the deck. Absolutely fantastic. The artwork's lovely. She's great. Then to go along with it, here are a couple of other dungeon cards. Wandering Troubadour? I don't know what that word is. 4 mana for a 4/2 Dragon Bard. At the beginning of your end step, if you have a land enter the battlefield under your control this turn, venture into the dungeon. So we're going to be playing lands in green, shockingly enough. I think you should probably play them in most colours, but green exceptionally excels at that sort of thing. So getting lands into play, it'll allow us to trigger the dungeon and go deeper. Then you found a Cursed Idol. Excellent split card here. 2 mana for a sorcery. Choose 1. Smash it. Destroy an artifact. Lift the curse. Destroy target's enchantment. Steal its eyes. Absolutely horrible. Create a treasure token and venture into the dungeon. So that last option, making a treasure token and venturing, well, it's not great, but it depends on which dungeon you're on and where you're up to. So that could be actually fantastic. The other 2 options, just staples of what green wants to do. Just destroying things in general is great. It's great to pick up like a small child's toy and just destroy it. Anyway, the dungeon map, 3 mana for an artifact, tap to add a colour. So this is ramp, but green, most of it, as I said before, is going to be sort of land-based. But in this, we have pay 3, tap, venture into the dungeon. Activate only as a sorcery. How depressing. But being able to just venture into the dungeon on a mana rock, incredibly powerful. Which brings me on to my number 4. And at number 4, we've got Beast Whisperer. And this is a sort of subsection of cards, that all care about casting creatures. And we're going to cast a lot of creatures, so Beast Whisperer, 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Getting card advantage off doing what the deck wants to do is absolutely fantastic. So really, really powerful and wonderful effect. Go along with us, we've got the Great Henge, 9 mana for a legendary artifact. Spell cost X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. We're playing green. We're going to have some big beefy boys. Then we can tap to add double green and you gain 2 life. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card. This is shocking at just how effective it is. It does absolutely everything. It's sort of ramp, it's sort of life gain, it's sort of card draw. It buffs creatures. It just does absolutely everything you could want in a mono green deck. So play this card. Don't pay for the card. Just print it off of a printer. It's really expensive. Don't pay for it. Primordial Sage, I'll pay for this. 6 mana, I'll pay for it. It's a 4/5 spirit. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may draw a card. You may. You don't have to. Why would you want to? Well, you just do it. It's good. Then we got Zendikar Resurgent. 7 mana. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced. So doubles your mana. Very powerful. Incredibly good. And whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So we're going to be venturing to the dungeon, drawing cards, all from casting our creatures. Then, if we're casting creatures, we may as well get a couple of other benefits from it. Primeval Bounty, 6 mana for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. So getting more dudes onto the field, always great. Who doesn't love a nice beefy dude? Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may put 3 1/1 counters on target creature you control. So there you go. Cast some kind of pump spell, a draw spell. We're going to beef up our commander, getting in for loads of damage. And whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life. Not that exciting, but sometimes gaining life will save the game for you. Then we've got Forgotten Ancient, that doesn't just care about us casting creatures or spells, it's everyone. 4 mana for a 0/3. Whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a 1/1 counter on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of 1/1 counters from Forgotten Ancient onto another creature. So again, this allows us to just create an absolutely massive attacker, probably our commander, and then we can just slam in for tons and tons of damage. Then finally, back on card drawing, Glimpse of Nature, 1 green mana for a sorcery. Whenever you play a creature spell, this turn, draw a card. Absolutely great one-shot, can really churn through your deck, get a bunch of card draw, and if you're playing lots of elves or like cheap creatures, it just works fantastically with that. Which brings me on to my number 3 pick, and at number 3, we've got Yava, Nature's Herald. And so the big downside for our commander is the fact that it only triggers once each turn. But why don't we do it on our opponent's turn? So giving flash to our creatures is incredible. 4 mana for a 4/4 with flash itself. You may cast green creature spells as though they had flash. Absolutely fantastic. She's got a big bear in her artwork. Who doesn't love a big bear? And she's an elf. Anyway, let's have a look at another couple of ways to play at instant speed so we can get more of those dungeon triggers. Vidalcan Orrery, 4 mana for an artifact. You may cast non-land cards as though they had flash. Pretty damn good. Then Emergent Zone, land, taps for colours. Pay 1, sacrifice it. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash. A nice one-shot, but having it on a land is incredibly powerful. So you're going to be able to use this once, get a nice venture trigger. Really nice. Then there's Vivien, Champion of the Wilds. 3 mana for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash. And +1 until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains vigilance and reach. So if you have a big beefy boy, swing in with him. He's back on defense thanks to the vigilance and can stop flyers from attacking your planeswalkers. And also casting Vivien gets his adventure trigger from our commander as well, as it's a planeswalker. Then -3, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library, exile 1 face down and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. For as long as it remains exiled, you may look at the card and you may cast it if it's a creature card. Don't pick anything else, why would you? Then another land here, Winding Canyons, taps for a colours, tap and pay 2 until end of turn. You may play creature cards whenever you could play instants. Much better than Emergent Zone, as you can use this over and over again, but I think it's fairly expensive. Maybe it's not, maybe it's about a couple of quid, but quite cool. Then Allurin, very, very expensive. 4 mana for an enchantment. Any player may play creature cards with converting mana cost 3 or less without paying their mana cost, and as though they had flash. That's incredibly powerful. A lot of good elves and cheap creatures are in green, and this allows you to play them for free and with flash. Very, very powerful, although expensive. And then I included this one, you know, in case you wanted to make that mono green artifact deck you've always dreamed about. Shimmermere, 3 mana for a 2/2 with flash, and we cast artifact spells as though they had flash. So as long as they're artifact creatures, they're going to trigger our commander, keep us venturing deeper and deeper into the dungeon. The Mad Mage has to have his pudding. Then let's have a look at number 2. At number 2, we've got Ancestral Statue. And these are a bunch of creatures that return back to your hand so you can reuse them again. 4 mana for a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. So that could be another good creature with an enter the battlefield effect, or itself. So if we manage to give flash for all of our creatures and spells, for just 4 mana every single opponent's turn, we could venture deeper into the dungeon with Ancestral Statue. And this is really cool because it can save one of your key pieces as well if you have flash. Say someone's targeting your big Blightsteel Colossus with a removal spell. You can flash this in, bounce it back to your hand, you've saved your Blightsteel, hooray, and you've ventured into the dungeon. Quite good. Then a couple of other ways to sort of bounce creatures and stuff like that. Team of Sabertooth, 4 mana for a 4/3. Pay 2, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, it gains indestructible until end of turn. Very nice, good way of getting value, and the indestructible is pretty good on defense. You know, if you're blocking, nice. Then another cool card here, a sweet little elephant. Greenbelt Rampage at 1 green for a 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may... No, it's not you may. You have to pay 2 energy. If you can't, return it to its owner's hand and you get an energy. So that allows us to play it once, play it twice, then play it a 3rd time, and then it sticks on the field. But maybe you have some ways of paying your energy into something else. I don't know what, but you might have them. And this guy, you can keep playing him just for a single green mana. So it's just a nice enabler for the venture sort of mechanic. Then we've got Cloudstone Curio, absolutely incredible card, absolutely expensive card, and that artwork, I love that artwork, that thing with its sort of like head. It's a bit like me, it's going bald, sort of shring. It's pretty demonic, you know, with its sort of grippy hands. It's an artifact. Whenever a non-artifact permanent comes into play under your control, you may return another permanent you control that shares a permanent type with it to its owner's hand. So that could be lands. If you wanted to bounce your lands. Actually, that's quite a cool idea, to be fair. Just keep bouncing your lands, keep playing them, loads of landfall triggers. There you go, built a new deck for you. And then, what we really want to be doing is bouncing our creatures. Play a creature, bounce it back to our hand. Maybe it has flash it in, bounce back, blah, 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 blah. Just keep venturing and venturing and venturing. Loads of value. Then we've got Stampeding Wildebeests. 4 mana for a 5/5 with Trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, return a green creature you control to its owner's hand. So this is really cool. Look at that artwork. Look at those big nosed sort of antelopes kind of things with a big... Anyway, I'm just hammering on about nothingness. But this is a nice way to rebuy a creature. You know, maybe you could rebuy Craterhoof Behemoth or something like that. Although if you're rebuying that, why is your opponent not dead? Then we've got Stampeding Wildebeests. Ooh, nice. A little different take. This is actually an antelope. 4 mana for a 5/4 with Trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, return a green creature you control to its owner's hand. It's almost like it's exactly the same creature. Because it is. It's just differently named. But that takes me on to Wild Symbiote. 1 green for a 1/1. Return an elf you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature. Activate this ability only once each turn. So this is a really good card if you're going down an elf sort of deck route. You can bounce one of your great elves, untap one of your massive mana makers, replay it, bing bang bosh, and our commander is an elf. Which brings me on to number 1. And speaking of elves, it's Elvish Harbinger. And sort of, I think the best sort of direction for this deck is the elf route. Elves, incredibly powerful creature tribe, and we can get tons of value. Absolutely fantastic, and this is a great card for it. 3 mana for a 1/2 elf druid. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an elf card, reveal it, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it. One of the best elves to search up is actually Beast Whisperer, because it is an elf, and then you can just start churning through your deck, drawing tons and tons of cards. It also taps for 1 mana of any colour. Really, really nice. It's a mana dork. Wonderful. Really, really good. Then, just some good enter the battlefield creatures here. Elvish Visionary, double 2. mana for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So this is a great card to be bouncing back to your hand because you're going to get advantage. And if you've got all those things that draw your cards when you cast creature cards, you're going to be drawing 2 cards. Woohoo! Double. You're doubling it. Anyway, Master Mara's 4-mana version of Elvish Visionary. 3/2, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. And whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay double green. If you do, return Master Mara's from your graveyard to your hand. Really, really nice. Get you a good bit of advantage. And, you know, board wipes happen. It's okay. Don't worry about it. They happen. It's okay. So, when this dies, you know, and then you play something else, you can get it back, recast it. Lovely. Absolutely great. Then there's Allosaurus Shepherd, 1 green for a 1/1. It can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered. And then you can pay 6 mana until end of turn. Each elf creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 and becomes a dinosaur in addition to its other types. A dinosaur, an elderly sort of folk, very similar to my friend Dave. He's a bit decrepit, but he is large. He's a 5/5. Big lad, big personality, great voice. Then we've got Circle of Dreams Druid. Circle of Dreams Druid. 3 mana for an elf druid. Tap to add green for each creature you control. So this is excellent in any sort of elf deck. You know, we're going to go wide, have tons of little tokens maybe. And this just taps for an absolute wealth of mana. Then we've got Llanowar Empath, 4 mana for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2 and reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Absolutely great. Nice enter the battlefield effect. Scrying 2 is quite powerful. Gets all those lands out of the way. Gets you to the good stuff in your deck. And if you reveal a creature, which majority of this deck will be, you're going to end up drawing it anyway. Then we've got Llanowar Visionary, another good enter the battlefield creature. 3 mana for an elf druid. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. And it taps for a green. So a nice bit of ramp, accelerates you to your bigger plays, and it also draws some cards. And those are my top 5 cards for this commander. Quite cool. I like a good venture into a dungeon, you know, a good route around. It's really, really enjoyable. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Mitchy. Bye. Oh, buggered it up. Oh, no. What an absolute disaster. Oh, well, if you want to subscribe, please do. I've shamed my family there. Clicked the wrong thing. I'm sorry. Truly. I am. Bye.